Alright guys, well, the new graphics card came in from eBay today, and we're going to be unboxing that. And my son is playing on the server that we're working on right now while I'm doing this unboxing, running on that old AMD FirePoke Pro graphics card. And like I said, it works fine. That's a 4K television, and the VRAM is plenty for that. The only problem is any titles that take a lot of processing will overheat the card. So that's why we're upgrading to what's in the box. And pretty excited about this. This will be the most powerful graphics card I've ever owned. It's a Zotac 1070 Ti. I can't afford a 1080 Ti. I got this with shipping for $230, I believe. And there it is. It's my first unboxing video, but it's the Zotac GeForce GTX 1070 Ti, and this is the Mini. I'm thinking I need the Mini in order to fit in the server. I don't think I can fit a full-size card in there. Hopefully this is going to work and not cause any trouble for me. This is a used card, so hoping nothing's broken. This is the 8GB version. I don't think they made anything smaller than 8 gigabytes for the 1070 Ti. Here we go. Everything's looking good. This is the card. Looks like we have some instructions, no cabling. It didn't come with anything extra. Smells like smoke, but that's always the chance you take when you buy something used. It didn't disclose that on the eBay listing, but hopefully that's not a problem. Alright, well, here we go. It's packaged pretty well. Of course, having the original packaging always helps. And there it is, the 1070 Ti Mini from Zotac. And I'm hoping that because this is just a two-slot design, it has nothing above the bracket. Actually, everything is slightly below the bracket on this. I'm hoping that that is going to fit with the top on and still have some airflow. If not, I'm going to have to drill some holes in the top of the case to get a little bit of airflow on this card. It's a single 8-pin design. I really like how they made it as short as possible, and then the cooler extends past the back plate. But yeah, hopefully this is going to work really well for us. We have on this card, if you haven't seen from any other reviews, we have a HDMI and 3 DisplayPort, 1 dual-link DVI. I'm not sure if the HDMI port is a 2.0, 2.A, 2.B, or 2.1. I'm hoping it is at least 2.B to 2.1, but we will find out, because I want to be able to do 60 frames a second at 4K with 10-bit color, since the television I'm using as a monitor will support 10-bit color. And the only way to get that is above 18 gigabits a second, and that is HDMI 2.0 A and B, I believe, will both work, or 2.1 will definitely work, but 2.0 itself is not compatible with 60 frames a second 10-bit full color space. So hopefully that'll work, and we're going to shut this down and wait till he's done playing his little Minecraft and turn the server off, and I'll be back with y'all in a little bit to show how we're going to install this, and hopefully it'll work. See you in a minute. Alright guys, so we got the Dell server out of the closet, and it's time to do a little bit of upgrading. And I'm also going to go over the things that I modified before the end of the last video that I wasn't able to show the internals of since we were using it at the time. So first we're going to pop the top cover off, and so some of the things we did, not sure if you can see, but I'll have some close-ups in a minute, is soldered the connections to the board. We also used crimps. I could not get the wire to solder directly to the connectors. I think the types of metal were a little different or something, and it wasn't happening. So that was frustrating, but also there was a workaround. So I just crimped standard connectors that you can get from Walmart onto the ends of the cables, and those soldered to the board, and then I used hot glue to cover over top of them so I wouldn't get any shorts. It was the easiest thing I could think of that would work. The cooling solution that I've been trying to use is this little fan right here from an old graphics card that I leaned up inside of here to actively cool this graphics card that I was telling you all about in the first video. This did not work well. It brought the temps down some. I got about 20% more headroom for speeds instead of throttling all the way down to 500 megahertz. I was going down maybe 700 megahertz, but still, we're 200-300 megahertz from where this card should run. So still overheating, did not work. It helped, but it didn't work. So we're definitely going to be moving on to the new graphics card that we got in the mail today. Another thing that I didn't really show in the video was, let's see if we can pull all of this out while we're talking. I added that USB 3.0, 3.1, and USB-C. It has power from the SATA, and I had to run a 5-volt wire all the way to the front of the case, and I tapped into where the hard drive bays go. This board has 5 volts coming out for the backplane for the servers, the SAS drives, and I was able to tap in and get 5 volts for that, so that I can have auxiliary add-on items. This is another of the add-ons that I did, is this 970 Evo that I put in for a scratch drive. This is a 500 gig. They had them on clearance. I don't know why at Best Buy, but for the price, I couldn't pass it up. Wasn't planning on adding a NVMe drive to the card. Now the drive came from Best Buy. The card I bought off of eBay, as I buy most things. I got a 2-for-1. It has 2 different heights of the PCI Express, and it's only 4 lanes, but that's all they need. And it was just plug and play, no problems at all, and my throughput is really nice. And it's just a couple of bucks brand new off of eBay, so I definitely recommend these. I'm going to see if I can link maybe in the description. I don't know, I've never done that before, but I'm going to try to link where I got this, because they definitely work, and that's really nice to have. I did add the PERC H700 RAID card, and I haven't installed any drives for it yet. So I haven't tested it. It says it's working, and I can go through all the BIOS and the menus, no problems, but I haven't tested it, so we'll find out later when I get my drives that I'm going to be using for long-term storage. Right here, just floating, is my terabyte boot drive. It's a SanDisk, 1 terabyte, that I'm also getting power from the DVD drive. I'm just robbing power off of it. I don't use the DVD drive, and if they were both running at the same time, I might have a problem with power, but I don't think so. This drive just sips power off that 5 volts, so that shouldn't be a problem, hopefully. So today I'm going to be adding in the new graphics card, and also that might be it for today. We'll see. But all right, so this is what we're doing right here. I'm going to take a look at this. So what we did is just took a Dremel with a cutting wheel and cut the back out of this PCI Express 8X slot, so that we'd be able to put the large graphics cards in it. They sell a bracket that has PCI Express 16X that goes here, but it only has a PCI Express 16X on the top of the card, so you get a single slot card in there, and that doesn't work for most graphics cards. The other thing I did is cut the back of this bracket out and down here with the Dremel so that the cards would be able to fit out behind and take up this extra space. This server has 32 gigs of DDR3 RAM, ECC RAM, and the PERC H700 RAID card has been added to it as well. Plan is to put 6 8-terabyte drives in this for storage and serving files to the internet through a website that we're going to be hosting, and hopefully that's going to work out for us. That'll be another video setting all that up, but for now I'm going to install the new graphics card and put all of my expansion cards back in, and then we'll boot it up and see if it works. Alright, so this is going to be the moment of truth to see if this graphics card is going to work inside of this server. I sure hope it does. Yeah. Alright, so I've rotated the server around since the last shot so that we can get a better angle for the camera watching us do this. This is the first attempt to fit this card into the server. I'm assuming that it's going to work from my measurements, but I'm not positive. So hopefully we'll be able to, oh boy, this is very close. I might have to pull the other riser card out in order to get this one in. Let's see. Wow, that is going to be very tight. Okay, so that's not just going to slide in. We're going to have to remove some things. I was afraid that would be the case, which is why I pulled all of my extra expansion cards out already. To pull out this PERC H700, there's a little tab that you have to pull on each side, and then it just slides out with your fingers. It's very tight, not easily done, but if you get the angle on it just right, it will slide out. There it is. Got that. And that's just going to lean over here because I do not want to rerun these cables. Oh. Pull the battery out of it. Just let that hang. That should be fine. And this will here we go. Hopefully we'll be able to slide this in now. You have to put in the expansion cards after the riser is already in place. In the way this is designed, that's the only way they'll go in, because there's two little slots that the actual card slides into. Oh boy, that's going to be... oh, that is not going to work. We have already come up against a problem here, because this card is taller than the standard PCI Express slot, and I'm not going to be able to put the 8-pin connector in with the other riser. Well, that's not fun. I sped this up because the video was getting far too long, and none of this was really worth doing anyways. I tried a few different ways to get the card in and just didn't have any success with that. I plugged in my 16X riser, as you can see right here in the video, and ran the PCI Express extension cable and was able to run the graphics card in the system. But when I did that, the performance just wasn't what it should have been with a card of that quality. It was lagging behind and running very, very similar to performance to the GTX 980 that I'm going to be showing you in just a minute. And so there was no point in putting this card in the system with having to cut the case and make brackets without any benefit in the speed. So what we decided to do is just go with a card that would actually plug in and it wasn't throttled too much on the 8X PCI Express lanes. It's kind of sad that we weren't able to get the Zotac 1070 Ti in the system. I really wanted that for the 4K gaming, but that's going to be for a future day and a future build. Right now, I've got this graphics card in my workstation. I've got a Ryzen 1700 with that 780 Ti, and that's what we use to do photo editing. And it works really well over there, and if I want to do any AAA titles, I'll have to just game on that system. But yeah, it's a little bit sad, but it is what it is. So we had to do what we had to do. All right, everybody, we're back, and we did not have success with the 1070 Ti Mini. It is short enough, but it is taller than a standard slot, and that was the downfall of this card. So if anyone is trying to do this setup on their own with a Dell PoweredGe R710, then you're going to have to make sure you have a single, I'm not sure what the proper term is, but it can only be as tall as the bracket, maybe a tiny bit more, because of your second PCI Express riser card here. If you aren't using any of these things on the other side, if you don't want to have a RAID card controller, you don't want extra expansion slots, then you can put pretty much any card you want. Any card would fit in this. If you remove this small piece of metal right here, you have to saw that off. But as long as you did that, any card would fit. But trying to keep it as a server and being able to run the SAS RAID card controller, there's no way to put a taller graphics card. So let me open this up for you. You can see what we're doing here. As you can see, we had to cut out the back of this expansion. This is what it used to look like. This is what the 16X I was telling you about. And of course, we needed a dual slot, so we're running the 8X that's been modified. Seems to be working just fine. And I had to Dremel out the back of this and pull it off. It wasn't very difficult. Any hand tools pretty much would be able to do it. A hacksaw would be pretty quick. And you can remove the PCB while you're doing it. Just a couple of rivets and it slides right off. So that's not too much of a problem for most people. And we're still running the power directly from the power supply where we have it soldered in and then hot glued down here. And just went to a couple of adapters from the Molex to the, it has 2 6-pins. So the other graphics card I had in here, it had 1 8-pin, and now we're to 2 6-pins. So we had to use a lot of adapters. The cable management is horrific, I realize. I did a stress test on it, and the cooling is fine, so I'm just not going to worry about it. I might go through and try to cable manage better, maybe make some custom lengths so that I can have all the connectors somewhere where they're not in the way. But so far this seems to be working just fine. But yeah, so we have a GeForce GTX 1080 from EVGA. It's about the size of the reference, and it seems to be working just fine. So if you want a graphics card that's going to work well in this server, you're going to need one with active cooling. It can't be a passive server card like what we had before. This Fire Pro is an excellent card, but it just doesn't get the cooling it needs from this server. This server runs really cool with very slow fan speeds, and so it's just never going to get enough air across this passively cooled to use it as a gaming computer. So you're going to need something with fans on it, and the best way to do it is a blower fan. There is enough air between the top of the case and the blower that it's getting plenty of air, especially since the air is blowing across the card, that the fan speeds are just quite low, and it doesn't make, you don't really hear them at all over the sound of the server basically. So that's what we did. I'm going to put it back together. We'll boot it up, and I'll show you all some results on the stress test, and also some results from the benchmarks, and we'll play a couple of games and see if I can do some screen capture on that and show you how it's working. This is the, if I haven't showed you in another video before, this is the SanDisk boot drive that I'm using, and I'm running that just, I'll show you where it connects to. Right in here, this server has two SATA connectors straight on the motherboard. One is designed for the DVD drive that comes with it, and one was just sitting there empty. It works just fine. I didn't have to do any configuring at all. I just plugged the hard drive in and used it as a boot drive. So that was really simple and easy, and highly recommend that. Makes this thing really snappy. So, alright, well, I'm going to put it back together, and we'll get it fired up, and I'll show you some more of the results. Alright, YouTube, this is the last clip of the video. This is the server in its final form. We've got 3 workstations attached to it. Each one has headphones, a keyboard, a mouse, and a monitor. Both of these monitors are 1440 by 900, and they've got the graphics on fancy and the render distance out to about 20 chunks. And all of the USB peripherals are plugged into this USB 3.0 powered hub that's behind there, and that is connected to the USB 3.1 or 3.0 port, and then the USB-C port as an adapter, and that's connected to the hub for this station. So all of the USB devices for all of these stations are plugged in on that card, and then all of the display out is just coming out of the graphics card like you normally would. And this is working just fine. This is hard to do. The DVD drive, and if they were both running at the same time, I can scrub through my timeline. Everything is working really well. I can even export video while they're playing. And if anybody wants to know how I set this up to do multiple stations, just comment in the video, and I'll make another video on showing you how to do that. But the idea was a success. We get a server in the closet, and then we're going to put up a little just a pole with some curtains to close the closet off. That way we can fold up the chairs, close the closets, and all of us out of sight. So, y'all have a good one.